There are two other initial koans. When one is given mu, and the mu koan, like I've worked with maybe four, maybe five koan teachers over the last 30 or 40 years. And every time you start with a new teacher, they start you at mu. Doesn't matter where you are in the curriculum, you go back to the beginning and start. And then there are, with mu, there are these things called checking questions. There's maybe 10 or 15 follow-up questions that flesh out mu more thoroughly. And then there are two other significant koans that one is given. And Hakuin, who came up with the koan of mu, thought that it was really just an outstanding koan, that one could stay with mu, and that could be one's practice for a lifetime. There are so many different layers and places of unclarity that can be clarified through the process. But the other two, one is a pretty well-known one called the sound of one hand clapping, and that koan is, well, we know, what two hands clapping is, but what's the sound of one hand clapping? And so that's another one that all of these are intended to exhaust our conceptual approach. Whatever conceptual resolution that will come to mind will probably be rejected by the teacher. One of my students who works koans was asked by a friend about it, and they were told that one works the koan and gets told no a lot. And while that's true, there are times one is told yes. So sound of one hand clapping is another of the introductory koans. And then the third is called original face. And this is, what is your original face before your parents were born? So clearly we're not talking about a human or a bodily face. So what's your original face? What's your original identity before your parents were born? And these are all pointing in the same direction. So one would work all of these, and this would help flesh out the realization, the initial realization. And the koans are taken, I talk about it sometimes, when you first get a koan, it's kind of like a mantra. It's something that's repeated internally again and again, because we find ourselves everywhere else but with mu. And so by repeating it, it stays more fully in consciousness. And once it settles, once it's with us on a regular basis, then it's talked about having mu on the tip of your breath, or having it, be very intimate. So every breath is mu. And that sort of starts the process of staying with it as much as possible until there's enough, in the languaging of Zen, enough of the accumulation of great doubt, of not knowing what the answer is. And again, finally, in exhausting the conceptual framework and conceptual mind to a point that there's a certain kind of surrender or giving up. I can't do this. And there's a certain kind of surrender and a letting go of our way of doing things, our perspective. And then we can have possibility of the koan opening. So continuity is terribly important, both on and off the cushion. One of my teachers, it was really interesting. His approach was that we don't work with the koan on the cushion, only off the cushion. His teaching was to practice the shikantaza, which we'll do in a little bit, and on the cushion, and then off the cushion, carry the koan. He said the koan is resolved more often washing a dish than it is sitting on the cushion. So interesting approach. It's not a uniform approach, but I thought it was interesting when I worked with him for that period of time.